Hello and good day, everybody. Um, my name is Ken. This video is going to be like a brief introduction to it's what I'm referring to as a more written out version of my personal life story. You can find a link to the written out version with all the details in the video description. In the description, it's also going to have various links to the things that I'm referenced toward the end. So anyway, check that out if you want a written out fuller version with more details. Like I said, also the purpose of it is so that you get a sense of personality, because if you read written words, you don't get a sense of that. So I'm at the same time serious as I am joking. You'll get a sense of that personality, hopefully. So my name is Ken. I covered that. I grew up in California in a Christian home, attending a Baptist church. So a Bible believer, a Christian believer, Jesus believer. Growing up, I was always intrigued and interested and wondersome over why there were so many various denominations of Christianity. Why were there so many if it was the truth? If it's the truth, shouldn't there be one? It didn't add up to me as a kid. How and why I developed the way I did is an easy explanation, because it's the same explanation for everyone. I'm a product of my culture, upbringing, and environment. Pretty easy. So that was the culture and environment that I was raised in. I also somehow developed into, I guess, what you would call a know-it-all kid. A better word is a smartass. Or at least I thought I did. I thought I knew it all anyway. Reading and research were always an important and heavy part of my life from a young age. Often I was reading everything about anything. For example, if I heard anything about a person, a place, or a thing, and I was unfamiliar with it, I was the kind of person who immediately upon returning home or had any free time, I would go look up all those things that I didn't know about throughout the day. In school, when growing up, history was always my favorite subject, especially anything to do with ancient civilizations. When I say ancient, I just mean Romans or prior. Of particular interest, not that anyone cares, of particular interest to me has always been the Inca civilization. So anyway, just adding a personal flair there. When I was 17 years old, this would be in 1998, my family became introduced to missionaries of the LDS Mormon Church, or Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Missionaries came to our house and started teaching us. I had never heard anything about this religion. For example, I'd never heard the name Joseph Smith or the Book of Mormon. Never heard any of that prior to the missionaries coming over. So it was all brand new to me. So coming at it from a reading and research aspect, I felt I needed to know every in and out of the particular details, and I needed to read the material. So I was one of those rare people who, needless to say, I joined the LDS Church as a result of all this interaction with the missionaries. But it wasn't until after I felt I came to a certain level of understanding. I was one of those rare people who joined the church, having already read the Book of Mormon almost 2 times through, the whole Doctrine and Covenants all the way through, the whole Pearl of Great Price, all the scriptures, read them all the way through at least one time. Anyway, I needed to know the ins and outs of all of it, is the point. I felt particularly intrigued with Joseph Smith and the Book of Mormon. Something about those two aspects of it drew me to it. So anyway, another thing, immediately upon getting baptized, I felt very strongly that I should go on a mission, become a missionary for the LDS Church. So between the ages, for a man between 19 and 21, you can go on a mission. I went to Toronto, Canada for mine. Awesome place, by the way. Loved it. But it was a huge eye-opening experience as far as church things go. I went into going into the mission. I went into it thinking, because I was a convert, and because I was a convert so late, I felt at 17 years old, I felt 17 years behind everyone in their spiritual development. So prior to going on this mission, I did some intense reading and studying of anything and everything I could get my hands on. I felt I needed to know the particularities and the details of the church history, number one, but also the scriptures that I was going to be introducing and teaching, number two. I quickly came to find out, upon actually going on the mission, it was a eye-opening experience that almost none of my fellow missionaries had even read the whole Book of Mormon even one time all the way through, and they've been members of the church their whole life, let alone studied any of the other scriptures or gone into any of the intricacies of the church history. So it just was an eye-opening experience. Combine that with another eye-opening aspect of so-called personal revelation that many LDS people feel they get at all times. I only knew one thing for certain, that I was not receiving it. So most people I knew and interacted with, especially as a missionary, were day to day, minute by minute, hour to hour, going on some sort of personal revelation they were feeling, and I just wasn't feeling it. Combine that too with an aspect of I never taught a single person, let alone baptized anyone. I felt for a long time that something then must have been wrong with me spiritually. Yeah, it seems like a natural result to me that you would feel like that. Anyway, when I returned home from my mission, my reading and studying only amplified. And now I was older and had access and references that I could then go study that were the real ones. So anyway, not that it matters, just did one semester at BYU, hated it. It just wasn't too different of a culture than what I was used to and had lived to that point. So anyway, took a brief time off of school and then landed at Snow College in Ephraim, Utah, which geographically, it's pretty much right in the center of Utah and very rural and very small population. But it worked out. It was a perfect, for me at the time anyway, a perfect environment to attend college. While I was attending between 2003 and 2005, in 2004, I got married to a girl I had met in school and was dating. Because I was LDS and strong LDS, I felt, I was also firmly indoctrinated to the idea of an eternal sealing or a forever family. So I took it way too serious, is the point. Another interesting thing, in 2005, I worked in the church office building in Salt Lake City. This was another, like my mission was an eye-opening experience. Working in the church office building was a huge eye-opening experience too. And I mean nothing nefarious by this. It's just an observational observation. I got to see and interact with various general authorities, directors, managers of various church departments. Not that they would know who I was because of the job that I had, but I got to interact with them nonetheless, and got to see and interact firsthand with my own eyes and ears and mouth, how they would behave one way, for example, at church or in conference, and act and behave and treat people a completely different way all other times. So just eye-opening. I mean nothing nefarious, just eye-opening. In 2006, another major highlight in the life is my wife at the time became pregnant, but after 10 weeks miscarried. That was a huge devastation to both of us. Devastating. We handled it separately. We were married and had a relationship and lived together, so obviously we're talking about it and discussing it. But when I say we're handling it separately, is she internalized her depression from that. I intensified my reading and research and finding answers. This led from the years of 2006 to 2008. I worked on and put together a manuscript for a book. Again, I'm not going to go into the particularities of it because it's irrelevant, but if in the full written out version of this personal story, I give reference to it, to a link. So if you're interested in the particularities, see the written out version. But I'm just going to highlight that I put together a manuscript, sold it to a publishing company naively. And when they eventually did decide to publish it, they just chose to publish it with someone else as the author, which is all fine and dandy. They owned it, so they can do that. Again, I bring it up only, not in a bragging way. I only bring it up as a experience in my life, and mainly because it was while putting together and doing the research for that manuscript, I was also researching and reading and accessing other materials which I was interested in. This eventually led to being completely 100% disillusioned from the LDS Church. I just simply stopped going and haven't ever been back since. Several aspects contributed to that. Contact me personally, though, if you want those particularities. I'm not going to go into the ins and outs of the church history of how I came to feel disillusioned and stop going. But if a person wants to get to know me further and find those things out, you're welcome to. In the written out version of this that I link to in the description, at the end of that, you'll find my contact info. Easy peasy. So my marriage was falling apart. That's what I'm failing to highlight too during this time, is that my marriage was falling apart because of me. I was handling the situation terribly. I was not being sensitive to the needs of an ex-wife who had miscarried and was becoming more depressed by the minute, let alone years. But I was also becoming very negative about anything church related, and I had stopped going, and I handled it personally, this little faith crisis and marriage crisis, also terribly by abusing various pills and smoking marijuana. So it just led, it was inevitable to lead to a terrible conclusion. In 2008, my wife, who's now my ex-wife, moved out, and in 2009 we came divorced. It broke me, basically. To summarize what the divorce did to me, it led to me being broken. As I was getting in the process of getting divorced, luckily enough for me, a friend of mine had the courage to share 3 books with me. One of those books is what's called the sealed portion of the Book of Mormon, the final testament of Jesus Christ. The second book is titled 666, The Mark of America, The Seed of the Beast, the Apostle John's New Testament Revelation Unfolded. And then the third book is titled Sacred Not Secret, the Authorized and Official Guide to Understanding the LDS Temple Endowment. This friend of mine shared these 3 books with me, and to put it mildly, Ken was taken aback. Someone's supposed to laugh. I'm trying to be funny. Anyway, upon being introduced to these 3 books, I immediately thought that the sealed portion was going to be just like all the other supposed sealed portions that have been published through the years. Meaning complete gibberish, didn't make a lick of sense, and just overall unreadable. But then I actually read it. From that point until this point, currently, where are we? April 2025. From 2009 until now, I've become completely enthralled with a work called The Marvelous Work and a Wonder, which is the wider work of a group called the Real Illuminati, of which their messenger is Christopher, and which pretty much culminate in what's called the Humanity Party, which provides solutions to every aspect of human life, socially, especially the problems that we're having. Anyway, it's like nothing you'll ever see or hear anywhere else. So just to give you a little glimpse, 2 positive and profound, to me anyway, changes that I've made and am making in my life, because my life's not over, right? I'm a young guy. I have more life to live. Therefore, my life is a work in progress until it's over. So I'm not a final product, and I'm not a final result. So just need to clarify that. But the first major profound change since being introduced to this marvelous work and wonder is truly coming to grips with and accepting and admitting that I actually know nothing, which may not seem like a positive to some people, but for me it is, because of the growing up as this know-it-all smart-ass kid. I was arrogant enough to think and say that I knew a lot of things prior to hearing of the marvelous work and wonder. What I've come to realize is that was self-delusion, and I've only learned about many things. I don't know anything. The second positive and profound change that is still, of course, in the process of happening for me is in how I treat other people. Because I can be an arrogant and pedantic ass. Those are accurate descriptions at times of my personality. This can come across to others that I'm mistreating them or being intolerant or insensitive. It's never my intent. It's never how it's the delivery that's coming across that way. when inside I have such a strong care. Anyway, so in how I treat other people is where what I'm trying to highlight. Coming to grips with me being a participant in other people's worlds rather than manipulating or try to control and force someone to be a participant in mine, in my experience. So that's a in-process work. So just in summary, I'm going to just read this summary here because it's easier to do that. My background and upbringing led me to feeling like a broken person. This meant I was vulnerable and susceptible to the message of the LDS missionaries. This then culminated in a firm belief in holding some sort of priesthood of God and in relationships which could last and be sealed together for eternity. During and after my divorce, I became broken once more, only from my perspective 100 times more than I had been broken prior. The only repair that I have found that's worked at all is from the message of the Marvelous Working Wonder and Humanity Party, and of course from the message of the messenger Christopher himself. It's my experiences that have made me who I am, but the Marvelous Working Wonder is helping to transform me to become something better. Currently, I'm in the process of repair rather than the grips of despair. I love that one because it rhymes. Anyway, I'm far from a final product, but I feel like I'm on the path of improvement thanks to the Marvelous Working Wonder. And instead of being in the pits of hopelessness and depression, which is where I was in life prior, I feel that I'm oops. I feel that I'm on my way to repair. So anyway, I'm going to conclude for now. If you want more details and more written out, concise version, again, just see the description for a link to the written out story. Anyway, may you find the peace and happiness in life that you all are searching for, as I do in mine. Have a good day, night, day, week, and month, and year.